Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It's Sunday afternoon, halftime. For those of you watching the early NFL games, I am an NFL football fan. I guess that's redundant. NFL is football. But anyway, before we take a look at what happened over the past week and what happened on Friday, I need to remind you that the website and this video are for educational purposes only. Nothing stated at the site or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I'm not a licensed financial professional, just a guy who draws lines on charts. Let's take a look. Well, we've been in an extended period of mostly sideways with a slight upwards bias for the last, almost 3 weeks, call it 2.5 weeks. And around the middle of this past week, we started looking at the possibility of a channel having developed here between these two gray lines. And on Friday, we got above that channel, but you remember a general rule of thumb is a rising resistance line, or a rising resistance line. That's important, not a descending resistance line, a rising resistance line that gets taken out to the upside does not flip over to support as often as a descending resistance line. And that's kind of what we saw happen. We had that nice strong open, and then we sold back and just acted almost as if this line didn't exist. And the reason for that is, what is resistance? Resistance is, in a downtrend, is where sellers consistently overcome buyers. Resistance in a rising trend is where buyers decide to sell. Okay? Those who bought low sell high. Now, when you get a move up over a rising resistance line, it's not that you have, what's a good way to put this? Because it is in a bullish trend, there is nothing really that has been established that says that you. I'm usually not at a loss for words. So let me just say it again. When you have the rising resistance line and you break up over it, it doesn't turn to support like a descending one does. And I guess what I was trying to say is the fact that this bump right here, this nice move, was created by some pretty solid buying. But when you start to come back down to this line, there is no conditioned response when you come back down through it, like there would be if you had come down through a descending line. It's just the way it works. So we came back through this line, this resistance line, and we closed underneath it after bumping our head on it briefly near the end of the day. So gap up, given a lot of that gap back, and now it looks like perhaps the S&P is back to respecting this line again. Now, the question will be, if we come back down at some point this week, which I suspect we will we find support on this line? Because remember, sometimes when you get up over a rising resistance line, that can be signs of what Greenspan might have called irrational exuberance. Now, this is on a very, very, very small scale, because we're looking at a 10-minute chart. We're not looking at a monthly chart where all of a sudden the markets just go crazy and blow out 5 to 6% over a long-term rising resistance line. Nothing like that. This is super short-term. And as a matter of fact, if we do take out, if we were to come down and take out this support line, it really wouldn't, two things, it wouldn't totally surprise me and it wouldn't totally worry me, because we still have our target of about 2120 waiting for us as a result of this inverted shoulder, head, and flipper pattern. Now, that's not an official term, but those of you who have been members of the website know that we started calling these inverted shoulder, head, and flippers because we started seeing a bunch of them, where we would have a pattern that would look like it was setting up to be an inverted head and shoulders, but instead of a shoulder, head, and a symmetrical shoulder, we'd get this little pause and then we'd break out. And that appears to me that is what has happened again here. So clearly, with what we saw this week, the market doesn't want to go down, but it's not really exactly burning. It's not exactly burning the house down either. We're just kind of got an undercurrent that seems to be massaging us upwards. Now, we've got some resistance lines up here. I don't know if we attack these. I cannot tell you for sure what's going to happen, but I have to remind you they are resistance. This blue one, however, goes back quite a ways, and it's really has its main defining points back in 2010, 2011, with one touch in the summer of 2014. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in relation to that. Then also on a daily chart, we've got this red line right here that appears to be a fairly decent line of expected resistance. So it will be interesting to see what happens with relation to these lines. Is it possible for us to reach 2120 without breaking through these lines? And the answer is yeah, it is. But it would probably have to happen quite a ways off, which kind of leads me to where if we were to come up to this line and then dip back down, that could be buying us the time necessary to make a little dip, so that then when we come back and try the line again, we are able to make that 2120 target. So that's kind of one way I'm looking at this. Again, let's put a horizontal line on this chart right at our 2120, and you could see that we could make 2120. Let me make it right at, well, that's close enough. You see, we could make that by the third week of January. So the question is, are we going to blow the doors off things and break out over at least this blue line and make our 2120 in sometime in December? Or are we going to hit the blue line, sell back a bit, maybe bounce here, then come back and make 2120 sometimes in January? And the sad fact of the matter is, and those of you who study charts know, will probably be able to testify to this, that while a chart may give you a price target, rarely, unless you're in a really super well-defined channel, rarely does the chart give you a strong indication as to the time frame. So, all of that to say, 2120 is still on the map, and, you know, how we get there, I can't be too sure. As far as the week went, well, it was a good week. We stayed within our little rising channel. Well, first off, I believe it was this past week where we defined this gray channel. And since this has been behaving a little bit more, I'm going to change that from, what color do I want to make this? I think I'm going to make this, I don't see anything green right now. I'm going to change the color of this. because usually gray means I'm just sort of scoping that out. Maybe it means something, and now I think it does mean something. So guys, let's keep an eye on it. It was a good week. We stayed in our channel. We identified the channel, and it looks like that at some point in the week ahead, I would fully expect a test of this lower line, especially since we blew up over and through this top line on Friday. So guys, let's just keep an eye on it together. The driving force, I believe, right now is still this pattern. Everything else, I believe, is secondary to this inverted head and shoulders pattern. So I am holding fast 2120. Don't know when. I think I know why, and that is our pattern that we got back here, this inverted head and shoulders pattern with that truncated right shoulder. And the fact that we broke this steeply ascending channel, this orange channel, no big deal. That could not last. It was going up too fast, too quickly. So now we're in a less aggressive ascent. Let's see if we get what it takes to in the upcoming weeks hit that 2120 target. So there you have it, guys. That's your video for the week ending 11/21/2014. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch this, time out of your weekend. It is a short week this week with Thanksgiving. I hope you will take some time this week, whether you have done well with your market decisions or not, even if you have been beat up by the markets. I would encourage you to take time out of your day this week at some point to take account of those things that money cannot buy, that you have, and be thankful. Be thankful. Life is good, and money is just money. I know it may sound at times that I'm obsessed with this. I'm really not. And that's one of the reasons why I can enjoy doing this, is because it's just money. And I'm not filthy rich by any stretch of the imagination. But it's, it's just money. So guys, appreciate your time, appreciate your attention, and I appreciate your support. Take care.